بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حميم والكتاب المبين إنا جعلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم تعقلون.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue inshallah ta'ala with Surah Az-Zukhruf and verse number 70. Verse number 70 from Surah Az-Zukhruf, and it's connected to the previous ayat that talked about the believers, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called his ibad, the people of at-taqwa. يا عبادي لا خوف عليكم اليوم ولا أنتم تحزنون. O my ibad, O my servants, O my slaves, there's no fear for you اليوم, meaning in the day of judgment. ولا أنتم تحزنون, and there's no grief or sadness for you. And this is the perfect state, as mentioned before, that a human being can be to attain the perfect happiness, to be safe from what's coming ahead, the future, not to fear the future, and not to have the sadness and the grief of what had passed. And this is what the people of Jannah, they receive. And their qualifications, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَكَانُوا مُسْلِمِينَ. Those who believed in the ayat and the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they were Muslimin, in state of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And al-Islam, as we all know, is the submission to the commands of Allah. When people, they make faith or al-Iman a feeling, and when they invent their own even matters of faith to whatever fits their desires, and they would invent their own celebrations, their own feelings, their own ibadah, and as long as they would have certain meanings in their hearts, they think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with them because of that. This is all part of the wishful thinking. أَمْ لِلْإِنسَانِ مَا تَمَنَّى. Does the human being get what they wish for? The answer is not necessarily. So al-Islam means that you get what you wish for if you take the means to get what you are wishing for. So if you wish that you become a medical doctor, right, you have to take the means and study and go to medical school to be a medical doctor. It doesn't happen by just you wish for it. So if someone wished to enter the Jannah of Allah, it doesn't work by just wishing for it. A person has to submit themselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَكَانُوا مُسْلِمِينَ. And it's all about the wahy from Allah. When you look at how the religion has been changed in the nations before, and how they changed the religion to fit their desires, and they made it just some rituals for them as it pleases them, and they would claim that they would receive the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not based on revelation, but based on what they feel. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the matter is stated clearly in the Quran. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَكَانُوا مُسْلِمِينَ. Inward, outward, physical actions, their hearts, everything is according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from them. So now the ayah number 70, أُدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ أَنْتُمْ وَأَزْوَاجُكُمْ تُحْبَرُونَ. These are the ones that will enter Jannah. Enter Jannah, paradise, you and your kinds, تُحْبَرُونَ, delighted. Imam al-Sa'di rahimahullah, he says, أُدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ التي هي دار القرار, which is the abode of al-qarar, the everlasting place. There's no moving out from it. It's the everlasting abode. أنتم وأزواجكم, you and your azwaj. And al-azwaj, you might think that this refers to the spouses. No. It's azwaj here, the kind of you, which includes the spouses and everyone else. Which means أي من كان على مثل عملكم, those who were upon the same actions as you, as mentioned in the previous verses. So this is, az-zawj is when you add someone to someone else. So those who were upon the same actions as you, من كل مقارن لكم, for everyone that is muqarin. that is like you, from al-qareen or someone that is upon the same thing. Min zawjatin, whether it's a wife or a spouse, wa waladin, a child, wa sahibin, a friend, wa ghayrihim, and other than them. And the ukhuwah, the brotherhood, for the sake of Allah. This ummah is one ummah. Based on what brings the ummah together, whether they are from the east or the west, whether they're black or white, what brings them together is, as you see here on top here of the page, the previous ayah. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَكَانُوا مُسْلِمِينَ. They are together, their hearts are together because their iman is the same, and they're all in state of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, following the deen of Allah. So, ادخلوا الجنة أنتم وأزواجكم تحبرون. تحبرون, he says, أي تنعمون وتكرمون. You are delighted from النعمة, the favors of Allah, honored, تكرمون, ويأتيكم, and will come to you من فضل ربكم, from the bounty of your Lord, من الخيرات والسرور والأفراح. خيرات is the plural of الخير, goodness. السرور, happiness. الأفراح, the same thing as surur, but al-farah is the actual moment of joy. So happiness, joy, delight, feelings. وَاللَّذَّاتِ, and desires. مَا لَا تُعَبِّرُ الْأَلْسُنُ عَنْ وَصْفِهِ, where the alsun, plural of lisan, where the tongues لا تعبر, is not able to express the characteristics of it, or to describe it, because no one ever seen the like of it whatsoever. So تحبرون, and تحبرون here is in the passive tense. And comes from al-hubur, and al-habra is the delight, the feel of goodness, as it's mentioned in Surah Ar-Rum. فهم في روضة يحبرون. فهم في روضة يحبرون. They will be in rawda يحبرون. That means they are delighted in it. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised the believers, as فأما الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فهم في روضة يحبرون. روضة is the garden, and يحبرون again is they are happy because of the hubur, which is the most intense happiness. If you think of happiness, there's all kinds of levels of happiness, right? So you're happy because you had a good food today. You feel delighted, you feel pleased. You feel pleased because of a word that someone said to you, or a job that you this or that, or someone is saved from death and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved them. Someone got billions. So there's all kinds of levels of happiness. Al-hubur here is the highest level of any type of happiness or delight that a person can feel, beyond what's imagination. That which shows on one's actions and one's body. That's what, when they say habarahu, that means when someone made him so happy that it looks on him, jumping up and down, so much joyful. So this is the highest level of happiness. ادخلوا الجنة أنتم وأزواجكم تحبرون, and there is nothing more as far as happiness are concerned, is when someone enters the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where they will be given the everlasting life. As some of the early generations of Islam said, something in the meanings of which, if this worldly life, with all of its miseries and sadness and pain and goodness and all kinds of things that we witness all the time in this life, if a person is given in this life a reward that he will be on the face of earth forever, that's enough delight. This is enough joy that the person would never die. And you can see even with how this life is. So imagine that it's the Jannah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared for the believers, where there is no eyes have seen, no ears have heard, no hearts have ever imagined. And unless this is the focus, and this is the concern, and this is where the hearts are attached to, then we're always going to be, the weaknesses in the heart comes as a result of the heart not being attached to the hereafter. And subhanAllah, before we continue, I was reading in the subject of when people have between the spouses, and in matters of fiqh, like if a man does not spend on his wife, she has grounds for divorce. And Imam Malik rahimahullah, he mentioned something, but to make it just simple, is some of the ulama, they said she has, of course, the wife has to be patient with her husband if he's in state of poverty, if he's poor. And they mentioned that the wife's of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they married the Sahaba for the hereafter. The marriage was for the sake of Allah, for the hereafter, seeking the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hereafter. So when someone is married for that purpose, they are patient at times of difficulties, they're at times of ease, they're grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their marriage is not conditioned to matters of this world, materialistic things. But then Imam Malik said something very deep in meaning. He said when things changed, when people relationships becomes in such a way that they are getting married for the sake of this worldly life, they want just to be happy whatever in this life and things like this, so as if it's an under non-written condition in their marriage contract that he has to he has to have the ability, of course, to spend good on her. So if that is not happening, as if it's a condition in the contract, that means she has grounds for divorce. Of course, this is one of the rights, of course, of marriage. But it's the fact that when the hearts are attached to the hereafter, for both, not just one, and they live their life accordingly, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from the believers. Anyway, so the next ayah, يطاف عليهم بصحاف من ذهب وأكواب. يطاف عليهم بصحاف من ذهب وأكواب. And let me see the translation here. Circulated among them will be plates and vessels of gold, and therein is whatever the soul desire and what delights the eyes, and you will abide therein eternally. وفيها ما تشتهي الأنفس وتلذ الأعين وأنتم فيها خالدون. So he says here, ويطاف عليهم, going around them, بصحاف من ذهب, بصحاف من ذهب. And a sihaf, before we read the tafseer, is the plural of sahfa. Sahfa is one, sihaf is plural. And it's the very wide plates, the very wide containers that is very wide, which is not very deep. So this is what the sahfa in this world, where they put in it food or fruits, or things like this, and 10 people can sit around it. So it's these big dishes where people would put on it, especially they put fruits and things like this, and it looks nice as even for decorations. So بصحاف من ذهب, from gold, وأكواب, and al-akwab is the plural of kub, and al-kub is the cup that is used to drink, whether it's water or wine or and it's usually have a narrower neck to it. This is how the kub is in this life, and of course something that is of means of delight in the hereafter. He says, أي تدور عليهم, تدور عليهم, يطاف عليهم, they keep on going around them. خدامهم, their servants, من الولدان المخلدين, from those who, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned them in the Jannah, بطعامهم, by their food, بأحسن الأواني, by the best of utensils and plates, وأفخرها, the most luxurious of it, وهي صحاف الذهب, made from gold. And when they forbade it on themselves by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world, they are rewarded in Jannah to use it in Jannah. وبشرابهم, and with the thing, with their drinks, بألطف الأواني, with the most delicate and the most beautiful cups and utensils, وهي الأكواب التي لا عُرَ لها. So al-akwab, the kub, is the one that does not have a handle to it. Like you have the glasses of wine or things like this. وهي من أصفى الأواني, the purest of all things. من فضة أعظم من صفاء القوارير, from silver that is greater than the purity of the glass. وفيها أي الجنة ما تشتهيه الأنفس وتلذ الأعين. In Jannah, every al-anfus is the plural of nafs. Every soul, whatever it desires, and whatever the eyes would enjoy. So here, al-anfus wal-a'yun. He says here, when you reflect upon this, وهذا اللفظ جامع. This is a very comprehensive words. يأتي على كل نعيم وفرح وقرة عين وسرور قلب. That it's very comprehensive, that it brings all types of delight and happiness and comfort of the eye and the happiness of the heart. How is that? فَكُلُّ مَا تَشْتَهِي النُّفُوس, all of what the nufus, all of what the human beings they desire, من مطاعم ومشارب وملابس ومناكح. And we are given in this life an example or samples of what the delights in the Jannah is. And there's no comparison whatsoever. But part of why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the human beings and created in them in this life things that they would desire, the desires that is already in ourselves as human beings. The wisdom behind it is that people would understand when the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and it describes what people would receive in Jannah, they understand what is being said. So we have desires, and these desires, some of it is in this world is sinful, and some of it is permissible. So in Jannah, فَكُلُّ مَا تَشْتَهِي النُّفُوس, all of what the nufus, the people would desire, min mata'im, food, drink, malabis, garments, manakih, relations between men and women, وَلَذَّتِهِ, and the enjoyment of the eyes, which is another level of enjoyment, من مناظر حسنة, from the beautiful sceneries, وأشجار محدقة, and the trees that are the eyes, stare at these trees, ونعم مونقة, and favors that is مونقة, meaning very adorning and looks very beautiful, ومبان مزخرفة, and buildings that are adorned, and from the word even Az-Zukhruf. فإنه حاصل فيها. Jannah is not just the comfort of what a person enjoys, but also what the eyes are pleased with. معد لأهلها, prepared for its people, على أكمل الوجوه, in the most perfect way, وأفضلها, in the most perfect and the most beautiful way. كما قال تعالى لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون. They will have in it فاكهة, fruits, and whatever they wish for. وأنتم فيها خالدون, and that's the tamam of the na'im. This is the perfection of the delight, that you will be in it forever. وهذا هو تمام نعيم أهل الجنة. This is the perfect delight of the people of Jannah. وهو الخلد الدائم فيها, the everlasting life in it. الذي يتضمن دوام نعيمها وزيادته وعدم انقطاعه. That would includes in it the completion, the everlasting delight, and the increasing of it, and that it's never severed. As mentioned before, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the owner of this life and the hereafter, when he describes the hereafter, when he describes the Jannah, and the people are truthful in the way they listen to it, what is in this world that a person would sacrifice this reward? What is in this worldly life that a person would say that he would jeopardize, if it's correct to say, the rewards in the hereafter for? What is it? A moment of joy that is followed after that with all kinds of regret and miseries? Some food that a person would eat, or some relationships, or some money that he does not even guarantee that it's going to stay with him forever? Jeopardizing, sacrificing these great rewards in the hereafter for what? If this worldly life is like Jannah exactly, with the fact that it's not forever, it's not even worth it for a person to choose it over the everlasting life. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this worldly life with all kinds of goodness and miseries, good and bad in it. So how can someone choose this over what has been described in the wahy from Allah? And that's where the belief and the certainty comes in place, where there's no question to be asked even when it comes to choosing what's in the hereafter, and in it is the perfect combination of goodness. وَتَشْتَهِي الْأَنفُسُ وَتَلَذُّ الْأَعْيُنُ وَأَنْتُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. And al-ladha and the shahwa, the difference between the desire and the al-ladha. Al-ladha is the good feeling also. So the eyes have enjoyment in whatever the eyes would see. But if you see something beautiful, but you're not enjoying it as in your own body, is in your own self, there's not goodness in it. Or the opposite might be easier. But the people of Jannah, they have both. وأنتم فيها خالدون وتلك الجنة التي أورثتموها بما كنتم تعملون لكم فيها فاكهة كثيرة منها تأكلون. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتِلْكَ الْجَنَّةُ, and that is Jannah, paradise, which you are made to inherit for what you used to do. تِلْكَ الْجَنَّة, he says, al-mawsufa, that is described, some of it here, and it's in the entire Quran, بأكمل الصفات, by the most perfect characteristics. Here, this Jannah التي أورثتموها, that you inherited. بما كنتم تعملون, because of what you used to do. أي أورثكم الله إياها. Inherited, that means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you or gave it to you because of your actions. This is what al-mirath is, when you're given something without necessarily you deserve it, right? When a person receives inheritance, he did not earn it, right? He did not earn it. It's a given, right? So this is what urithumuha, to give the sense that this is from Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that bestowed this upon you. You did not have to build Jannah. You didn't have to make the way Jannah is, as it's mentioned in the previous verses. This is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He will give it to you, meaning the believers, because of your actions. أورثكم الله إياها بأعمالكم, because of your actions, which is الذين آمنوا بآياتنا وكانوا مسلمين. They believed in the ayat of Allah and they were Muslimin in state of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this ba, bima, it's very important to understand the letters in the Quran. What is it called? This is ba sababiyya. Ba sababiyya. The ba of reason. The ba of means. So the means to enter Jannah is the amal. So he says, وَجَعَلَهَا مِنْ فَضْلِهِ جَزَاءً لَهُمْ. It's by the bounty of Allah. He made it as a recompense for them. وَأَوْدَعَ فِيهَا مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ مَا أَوْدَعَ. And He put in it what He willed subhanahu wa ta'ala by His mercy. So their actions, our actions in this life, is whether it's the mean to enter Jannah or وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ to enter the hellfire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most just. بِمَا كُنْتُمْ أَنْتُمْ you تعملون. So our actions is basically whether it's the mean of this and mean of that. And as the Prophet ﷺ, he said that Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, he mentioned this, that كل أهل النار يرى منزله من الجنة حسرة, which because of the hadith ما من أحد إلا وله منزل في الجنة ومنزل في النار, that أورثتموها, right? So everyone has a dwelling, a place in Jannah and a place in the hellfire. فالكافر يرث المؤمن منزله من النار. The kafir, the disbeliever, would inherit the place of the believer in the hellfire. والمؤمن يرث الكافر منزله من الجنة. And the believer will take the dwellings of the disbelievers in Jannah that was prepared for them. It was there for them. They earned it with their actions. So it's there, and that's another way of seeing it with our hearts. And then, therefore, when you do a good deed, right, you're preparing yourself. You're investing in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created for you. If you pray the 12 rak'ah sunnah, house in Jannah is being built for you. If you say subhanallah wa bihamdi, a palm tree in Jannah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, treasure in Jannah. Right? So this is by the actions. The actions are the means. And wal-'iyadhu billah, sins. Person then would invest in the hellfire wal-'iyadhu billah by one's actions, the actions of the people of the hellfire. لكم فيها فاكهة كثيرة. You would have in it فاكهة كثيرة, abundance or much fruit from which you will eat. So this is another characteristics of the Jannah. كما في الآية الأخرى فيهما من كل فاكهة زوجان, as in Surah Ar-Rahman. In it, from every فاكهة there is pairs. منها تأكلون, from it you will eat. أي مما تتخيرون, from what you choose from. من تلك الفواكه الشهية والثمار اللذيذة تأكلون. As you see that one of the enjoyable thing in this life is what we eat, right? And when we're always reminded that we eat to live, not to live to eat, right? But there's no one can ever deny that one of the joyful thing in this life is food. And that's why there's all kinds of delicacies and things of that nature. And nobody can deny that. But for the believers, they don't just eat whatever they desire. They have to make sure that this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted, which is everything is permissible unless it's proven otherwise. So it's all part of the actions also. When someone leaves something that Allah forbade, or leaves haram earnings, and as a result of that, he might be not as rich as he desires, and he doesn't get to eat everything that he desires, because it's not the end of things. There is the hereafter. And the Prophet ﷺ, and he's the best man ever walked on the face of earth, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose for him the best life. He, as it's mentioned in the hadith, that the Prophet ﷺ, he never seen in his life, his entire life, not even let alone to eat it, right? As the hadith of Anas radiallahu anhu, The Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام لم يأكل على خوان حتى مات وما أكل خبزا مرققا حتى مات. He never ate soft bread till he died عليه الصلاة والسلام. ولا رأى شاة سميطا بعينه قط. And he never seen عليه الصلاة والسلام شاه, a goat or a sheep that is roasted. He never seen that with his eyes عليه الصلاة والسلام. Not that the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام forbade what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted. And when that was mentioned, he says ما رأى, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did not see منخلا. He never seen the sieved bread, the bread where they sieve the flour before they bake it, till he died. So they asked him, how did or what you used to do with الشعير or the barley that you would eat when it's not manhul, when it's not being sieved. He says كنا نطحنه وننفخه, as the hadith of Sahl, that we used to نطحنه, we grind it, وننفخه, and we blow it with our mouth, فيطير مطار وما بقي, we would keep it. ثرينا. So we would blow it with our mouth. Whatever flies away, and whatever stays, we just eat it that way. Because they are in shughul, they're busy, right? Food was not the rewardable thing in this life. Food was a mean, because the reward is there in the hereafter. And it doesn't mean that they forbid what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the best example for us as the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And that's why the proper way is, if a person has the means, the person hears this, does he forbid for him to eat the soft bread and the nice food and the roasted meat and all of that? Eat whatever you want, mashallah, if it's as long as it's halal. But what if you don't have it? Then your day is miserable. Then you're complaining. Then you're not grateful. This is the problem where it comes in. When a believer is, whatever means of ease he gets, he enjoys that for the sake of Allah, does not take him away from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded them to do, does not make him earn haram so that they have a comfortable house. They don't deal with things that takes them away from the commands of Allah. And to remember, this is how the Quran changes the hearts. Very soon, and everything is soon. When we say very soon, even if you live till you're 100 years old, it's very soon. The delight will be there for those who are patient in this life. And by the way, I don't want to take too much of your time, but it's a meaning that we need to contemplate over. That the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, the Quran changes them, as we all know. We talk too much, right? And you find all kinds of things. And they didn't need all of that, because the Quran was sufficient for them. And when in the dars of the Tafseer, I want to mention that, inshallah, we'll talk about it later, inshallah. In the dars of the Tafseer, what's sufficient for us is to know the meaning. But oftentimes we enjoy the durus of the Tafseer that has so much reflecting. And someone would give us the outcome of pondering and reflecting and deep benefits from the verses of the Quran. All of that is good, mashallah. But what is sufficient for us, what is enough for us, is to know the meaning. Once you know the meaning, and the more the person gains knowledge, the more then you would reflect upon the ayah. And when the hearts are opened up for all of these benefits, then this is the joy of this life. This is the Jannah of this life. So we don't have to receive this from the first stage. What our duty is to get to understand. That's why you'd find the books of the Tafseer of the early generations of Islam, like Tafsir Imam al-Tabari, the Kathir, and others. Athar. The Prophet ﷺ said, Abdullah ibn Abbas said, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, like this. This is the meaning of it. Once you get the meaning, the heart's supposed to be working. And when the heart works, right, this is an individual task. So that's why when we say we take these verses as a way, how can we benefit from the Quran? When we take these verses and then you start reciting it, we know the meaning of it, every word of it. Then when you're repeating the verses over and over again, purifying the hearts and having these meanings to enter in our hearts, to push away the attachment of this worldly gain, and to reflect upon this and to hope for it, to have the raja, to hope for the rewards from Allah, to have the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to keep on reflecting upon this with the meanings of it, and that affects our actions, and to know what makes the person attain this rewards from Allah, the characteristics of the believers, and so on. This is how the person would receive the happiness and the contentment in this life and in the hereafter. Then after that, the verses will talk about وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, the punishment of the criminal ones, who are al-mujrimun, the criminal ones, those who deserve the punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among the people of Jannah and to protect us from the hellfire and to make us benefit from what we hear, inshallah. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بارك الله فيك.